Hello everyone, and welcome to round number 2 of the League Cup at the Collector Store in St. Peter's. I'm your host, Jared Carpenter, joined by my co-commentator, Chris Yingling. Just as a heads up, there was some audio issues in this match, so we will be going with outside background music, which you should be hearing right about now. And Chris, we've got a couple of really interesting teams on our screens. Weather Wars, by the looks of it.
Yeah, it definitely loves some Weather Wars. The tale as old as time, but normally it's Kyogre versus Groudon. But in Regulation I and Scarlet and Violet, we have replaced Groudon. Not totally, it's still out there, myself included. However, we have on Jeremy's side the classic Kyogre versus on Darren's side the Koraidon, the new premier Sunsetter in Scarlet and Violet. Taking a look at Jeremy's team here, Kyogre is paired with that Calyrex Ice Rider. This is kind of like a pseudo Tail Room-ish sort of team. Keeping in mind that the team actually doesn't have the tail part of Tail Room, no Tailwind on Jeremy's side here. It's kind of like a good stuff balance, but like he'd be pretty happy if you got Trick Room set up, specifically with that Calyrex Ice Rider, the standard set that we've seen for Regulation G and I. However, we do see Jeremy opts for Terra Iced on his Calyrex instead of going for something that could resist those Fire-type moves, those Steel or Ghost-type moves. It just decides to go with the Ice Terra and try and get a little bit more damage on a Glacial Lance. A couple other things I want to point out on Jeremy's team here. The Kyogre is Life Orb without a Water Spout. He instead opts for the Origin Pulse, Ice Beam, and Thunder on this set, going for that single target electric move that always hits in the rain over that spread move. Water Spout, you don't see Kyogre a lot without the Water Spout. One more thing that I want to point out here on Jeremy's team is the Flutter main. Flutter main is commonly seen on those Sun teams. We normally see it if the Sun team decides not to run a Calyrex, but on this one, Jeremy is running it with that Booster Energy set, and instead of a normal like Icy Wind, Fairy move, Ghost move, Protect, Jeremy has decided to go with Mystical Fire and Taunt in this one. Really fascinating, interesting niche kind of tool belt Pokemon. Definitely seems like the sort of set for Flutter main that Jeremy has said, you know, I'm weak to one or two things, and me, I can't quite see what though that one or two thing is, but maybe Flutter main is kind of the glue that kind of helps his team be better against those things. On the other side, we have Darren doing that Sun thing. Darren has loved Sun for a while now, so it's no surprise that he decides to bring Koraidon and buddies to this tournament. He does do the Koraidon paired with Calyrex Shadow Rider. It is the Sash set that does have Encore, that has really picked up recently, and Pollen Puff is something that we haven't seen a whole ton of, but a really nice move. Help keep your partners alive and do super effective damage and stuff like Indeedee or Farigiraf that it's unable to hit with Astral Barrage. We know Darren loves his Walking Wake and Assault Vest Walking Wake in this one, but probably the most important mon in this format for this game is that Weezing Galar on Darren's side that is going to have the Neutralizing Gas ability, shut down any of the abilities that Jeremy might want to go for. Most importantly, the Drizzle from Kyogre. It's going to be a Sun-based matchup in this one for Darren if he opts to bring the Weezing in this one. Also making sure that it turns off stuff like the Incineroar Intimidate that could be threatening to Koraidon in this one. Landorus is Sheer Force, so it doesn't hit too hard as well. So definitely looking forward to this very interesting Weather Wars sort of thing. It's going to be like we're back in Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald here.
Yeah, it's super interesting, especially with the Photosynthesis on Flutter main on the Rain team and the Walking Wake on the Sun team. They both have ways to take advantage of the opponent's weather if they end up losing the Weather War. But like you said, we won't know what happens until we hop into the match, so let's let the players hop into it here in this recording of round 2. So, you know, an interesting note in the Weather Wars right now between Koraidon and Kyogre. Normally, Kyogre tends to be the faster between it and Groudon, but it's the slower one here, so if they both lead with their restricteds, Kyogre will be getting the advantage here, but instead, Landorus and Flutter main come out against Brute Bonnet and Koraidon. So we do have that photosynthesis activating from Orichalcum Pulse on both sides of the field.
Yeah, Fluttermane is going to get that photosynthesis on Jeremy's side as well. Keeping in mind that if rain does come up, it's still going to have the photosynthesis due to the booster energy as well. But we'll see what both players decide to do with this turn 1 here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. The Fluttermane threatening big fairy type damage with Moonblast into both of Darren's Pokemon. Always a threat, but with the Terrasilizations available, Brute Bonnet able to go neutral, Koraidon able to turn a 4x resistance into a resisted hit. Looks like Fluttermane is just wanting to shut down the Brute Bonnet, not going for an attack into a potential Terrasilization. Kyogre switches in here, turning off the sun, using that drizzle, shutting off the photosynthesis. But like you mentioned, Chris, the booster energy still giving Fluttermane the speed boost, allowing it to guaranteed be the fastest thing on the field, only slower than a plus priority Rage Powder from the Brute Bonnet. But that's the only one it's going to be able to get off while it's on the field for a little while, as a taunt goes into it. And now we'll need to see how Koraidon is going to handle this. A Flame Charge into the Fluttermane, boosting its speed, putting it on parity with the Fluttermane, but not going for the Terrastilization.
Yeah, so getting that +1 from Flame Charge is really important for Koraidon. It means that now another one is going to guarantee make it faster than Flutter next turn. It also means that if Jeremy decided to maybe cheat a little bit with his how he trained his Fluttermane, maybe Darren is going to be able to outspeed it. So a couple interesting interactions there. But yes, getting the ability to have the weather in his favor will be good for Jeremy going forward in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we see the Terrastilization come out. We see the Fluttermane going into a Fairy type as a Collision Course comes out from the Koraidon into Kyogre, doing half of the Kyogre's health and damage, but Fluttermane's about to make that a painful choice as it absolutely obliterates the Brute Bonnet, preventing it from being able to get a move off. And then the Origin Pulse is single target into the Koraidon, even resisted, doing well over half of its HP in damage.
A lot of big information there, Jared. We do see kind of what we said before. Jeremy is cheating a little bit with that bulk that he's decided to train on his Fluttermane, and seeing that the +1 speed Koraidon did indeed outspeed it and did enough damage to potentially 2-hit KO this Kyogre afterwards. So we are seeing that the Koraidon is moving before Fluttermane. That's a huge deal. The fact that Koraidon is going to be the thing moving first for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Calyrex Shadow Rider coming in on Darren's side of the field, that means the Kyogre is at threat of being taken out by anything and is the slowest thing on the field. But the Koraidon says, hey, I want to be able to get my sun back up. I'm just going to shut off all abilities here with neutralizing gas. I want no part of this. And we see a Calyrex Terrastilization coming out. Terra Ghost just wanting to do as much damage as possible with the presumably Astral Barrage coming out here momentarily. We see it whinny to the sky as it's going first. Photosynthesis shutting off the speed boost due to Weezing, and an Astral Barrage comes out. Isn't going to get the double knockout. No, Fluttermane barely able to hang on, but Kyogre goes down. What did the Fluttermane lock itself into? That's the real question. Goes for Shadow Ball. Good damage into Weezing, but not enough for a KO, unfortunately.
Really, really big turn there from Darren. We see that the Weezing does shut off the photosynthesis. Even though photosynthesis was activated due to booster energy, it's still an ability, which means Fluttermane is going to be slower, and it allows that Calyrex to move first and get the kill onto the Kyogre, which means Darren has effectively won the Weather War. He'll get Sun Up whenever he wants to, and now we have Calyrex, which is the fastest thing on the field and should be as long as Weezing remains out there.
Yeah, absolutely. The Weather War has been won, and so we'll see. I think the best thing in favor of our POV player is that the Focus Sash on this Landorus is going to allow it to take at least one Astral Barrage, despite the Calyrex being at +1. The Weezing opts to go for Protect, trying to prevent itself from being taken out by a Sheer Force Earth Power, but we see another Astral Barrage come out as Calyrex Ice Rider was swapped in. That's probably going to take it out, and Landorus only barely hangs on at 1 HP, again, due to that Focus Sash. So we'll see if it fell for the Protect as Calyrex Ice Rider goes down. What did you go for, Landorus? Did you go for Sandsear Storm in the rain, guaranteed to hit both opponents, taking advantage of the rain while it's still up, but nowhere near enough in order to get a KO onto the Calyrex Shadow Rider?
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of a desperation play there from Jeremy. I think he realized that that there wasn't a whole lot that he could do there, and even now, not a lot you can do. When that Weezing came out and turned off the photosynthesis from the Flutter main, it kind of spelled the end for Jeremy there, as this horse is now at +2, plus the Terra Ghost. Not a lot's going to be able to resist that hit, and it does look like Darren wins the Weather War, actually loses the Weather War. We are in rain right now, but does take the victory in game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Able to win the game despite losing the Weather War. Didn't even need a Walking Wake potentially to come in to take advantage of the rain, being a water type itself. Really, really good play there by Darren. Coming away with the win. I'm super excited to see them head into game 2.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things here that Jeremy learned from that. I think very pivotally, he learned that the Koraidon, after a speed boost from the Flame Charge, is faster than his Photosynthesis Flutter main. That's a really, really big deal, and I think it changes how Jeremy is going to play the rest of this game. Another thing from Jeremy that I think is worth noting here is it definitely feels like Jeremy wants to get Trick Room set up in this one. Now, we did see that Darren decided to bring the Brute Bonnet and the Weezing. Both are Pokemon that are really don't mind the Trick Room. They can keep you afloat in Trick Room with Spore Pressure, or Weezing just being fat and being able to do good things. But I do think maybe Jeremy needs to consider possibly getting that Trick Room set up in this one, and at least making Jeremy hemorrhage some resources, maybe so Jeremy's faster things in the back, such as Landorus, such as Flutter main, could get the win in the end. But definitely a well played game from Darren. From Darren's side, I think seeing that Kyogre was very easily able to keep that rain up does mean that maybe the Walking Wake has a little bit more merit to be able to take those special moves. We do know that the Walking Wake is a Assault Vest variant here. Also be able to do pretty big damage to Calyrex on Jeremy's side. We'll see how the players decide to adjust here going into game 2, but Darren has to feel pretty darn good after that one, really getting everything that he wanted from lead all the way to the end, and winning the information game as well. But Jeremy's a great player. He qualified for Worlds last year. We'll see if he can adjust in this game too.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, as the seconds tick down, we'll see the adjustments made by each player. I really hope to see Calyrex Ice Rider do a bit more this match. Last round, it just switched into a +1 Astral Barrage and fell to that super effective hit. But we'll see. Jeremy versus Darren. Absolutely. As we get into this match, we'll see if we have a repeat of the instantaneous Weather Wars here at the start. I believe that is, yes, both restrictions from Darren coming in against a switch-up by Jeremy. Amoonguss and Calyrex Ice Rider versus Calyrex Shadow Rider and Koraidon.
Yeah, pretty massive switch up here from Jeremy. We talked about what's a big adjustment that Jeremy could make. It is prioritizing that Trick Room, and this is the sort of mode that would do it. However, we definitely do see that there's maybe a little bit of conflicting Terras here. Now, Jeremy is Terra Ice. In this situation, you don't hate Terra Ice. Terra Ice will work as a solid option to make sure that it takes the Astro Barrage from the opposing Calyrex Shadow Rider nicely, and maybe just using this turn as Amoonguss being the sacrificial mushroom, taking the Rage Powder and allowing the Calyrex next to it to Terra Ice and click Trick Room. Not a lot of counterplay there on the end of Darren that he can do here on that, but Darren can still get massive damage off with these two huge restricteds.
Yeah, absolutely. And the risk you run into with Terra Ice is, of course, that makes you vulnerable to every single move Koraidon has. You are already weak to fire, of course, but the collision course will be hitting for super effective damage and getting the boosted damage from being a super effective hit over on top of the normal double damage from super effective hits. But we see both Calyrex's Terrastalized losing their psychic typing, going into pure ice and pure ghost respectively. And we'll see if the Amoonguss is able to successfully redirect everything away with Rage Powder. We have a, presumably, yes, Ghost Terra boosted Astro Barrage coming out from Calyrex, going to do huge damage if not get a knockout. And we see, yeah, over half to both. Both barely able to hang on, but a collision course is what comes out into the Amoonguss, which it does barely live. That's absolutely massive, as now, like you were saying earlier, Chris, the Trick Room is set up and it completely flips the game on its head.
Yeah, pretty massive turn from Jeremy here. You get to keep your Amoonguss. So a number of things that Amoonguss can do. It can Pollen Puff up as Jeremy's hovering there to keep that Calyrex healthy. It can just spread Spore if it wants to. Both of these Pokemon on Darren's side are going to be susceptible to Spore, and we imagine that there's probably a Brute Bonnet in the back that's not going to want to take this Terra Ice Glacial Lance here, but we'll see how Darren plans on getting out of this one.
Yeah, and like we were saying, here comes that Walking Wake just to try to be a sacrificial lamb almost, because we have a Pollen Puff going in really annoying. Now the Calyrex Ice Rider's back basically at full, and a Glacial Lance is going straight into this Walking Wake. Probably not going to get the KO. If this thing has an Assault Vest, it's going to be a bit bulkier than your average Walking Wake, but still takes a lot of damage switching in to try to protect the Koraidon.
That was such best case scenario for Jeremy, and you saw how excited he was because he locked in his next move in 2 seconds or less. Yeah, you could just click that double Glacial and then also try and pick off the Calyrex here that is sashed, and that Aqua Jet is not known for being a physical attacker. Walking Wake isn't, and in the sun, not going to do anything to Amoonguss, and this Calyrex is about to be the scariest force in the world.
Yeah, I do think that we are about to see a Calyrex Ice Rider sweep. I really do like the Aqua Jet as an option, as a fourth move on an Assault Vest Walking Wake. Really good at chipping off Focus Sashes, especially if the speed advantage is flipped, like here in Trick Room. Priority doesn't care about Trick Room, but in this instance, we see the Koraidon come back out, still getting the Orichalcum boost from the sun, and once again, we see the Weezing come out. Shutting off all of the abilities, well, I suppose just the Amoongus's because of the ability shield on Koraidon and Calyrex not being impacted by neutralizing gas.
Yep, and we still have 2 turns of Trick Room here for Jeremy, so pretty easy Spore on the Weezing here. It is having the Covert Cloak item, not the Safety Goggles item that we see on some Weezing. So, and we know that Darren used his Terra earlier, so this thing is going down to the +2 Glacial Lance from Calyrex Ice Rider.
Yeah, absolutely. Darren saying, hey, I could go... it would need multiple double protects in order to try to stall out the Trick Room, and even then it's not a guaranteed thing. That Pollen Puff going into the Calyrex Ice Rider, taking it essentially back to full, making it such a huge threat to be able to get through by Darren, and so we have Jeremy able to claim game number 2, making it a 1-1 series.
Yeah, a tale of two games so far for sure. With Darren having control from turn 1 of game 1, and then Jeremy doing the exact opposite in game 2 there. I think Jeremy's adjustment was fantastic. We talked about it in between games that Trick Room was really going to be something that turned the game on its head. However, Darren knows that now, and Darren can be looking at this team sheet in between game 2 and game 3 and saying, all right, this worked so well for Jeremy in game 2, this Calyrex Ice Rider plus Amoonguss. What is my best play into that duo? A couple things that could happen here. You could see potentially the Bonnet going for Spore into the Calyrex as an option here. Obviously immune to the redirect from Amoonguss because it's a grass type. You could see Weezing with the taunt option could be something that could potentially come out here from Darren. Both of those may be weaker and more passive options. We could even see Chi-Yu here if Darren doesn't think that Kyogre lead is going to come out as something that we see that the Calyrex is Terra Ice, so Chi-Yu doesn't have any real drawback from clicking Heat Wave in the sun here, so potential options there. I don't think that we see the same lead of the 2 restricteds from Darren, which was pretty darn weak into what we saw in that committed hard Trick Room from Jeremy. But here we go, loading into game 3 between these 2 weather-using individuals.
Yeah, absolutely, and it does look like Jeremy's switching up his squad, not bringing the Amoonguss this game. Potentially with the Trick Room option. Always with Calyrex Ice Rider, you're going to see the Trick Room option. But predicting Darren to predict him to go for a hard Trick Room option again, perhaps. And so we see once again coming out. Here's the Chi-Yu we were talking about, but out comes the Weezing to go along with it.
Yeah, super fun lead from Darren here. So the Weezing is out here because it makes it so Jeremy can't go into Kyogre here. Kyogre's ability will be blocked. The Drizzle will not activate because Weezing's on the field if he opts to go into it. Also, Chi-Yu is Terra Ghost, so Chi-Yu is not going to go down to a fake out here. It's not going to get flinched by it. So, and we talked about that Terra Ice being a big deal. Jeremy's unable to Terra out of Chi-Yu. Just going for something like this Heat Wave to get massive damage off. Is this going to be read by Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. A Heat Wave or an Overheat could easily take out the Calyrex here and prevent it from getting a Trick Room up, but we see a Protect from the Calyrex and a Will-O-Wisp trying to cripple the Calyrex. No Terra Fire that would be able to block that, but essentially doubling into the Calyrex, not really getting much out of that turn, as Rillaboom says, I can't do anything here, let me get on out of there, and now can switch into the Kyogre, getting the Rain up to help protect the Calyrex Ice Rider.
Oh, but remember, we have neutralizing gas, so no rain in this one.
Oh, absolutely. Good call on that. Calyrex still in danger. Maybe won't go down in just one hit. Heat Wave being a spread move, doing less damage in doubles, and no Beads of Ruin, once again, through that neutralizing gas. But we definitely see Kyogre just kind of flopping around. It's a bit weird to see it come out and just no weather being on the field.
We might see an interesting interaction here. If Weezing switches out, that means the Drizzle will occur first, but then if Koraidon comes in, the sun will be up. So we'll see if that's what happens here. Doesn't look like Darren's opting to go for that just yet here.
No, not quite, but he does switch in the Koraidon, getting the sun up. Again, that ability shield allowing the Weezing's neutralizing gas to be neutralized itself, and Origin Pulse comes out, not doing much to either Pokemon in the sun, and a taunt comes out saying, hey, no more protects, no more taunt, no more Trick Room, and he reads it. Jeremy goes for the Trick Room in the face of a potential taunt or knockout, and reads it very well. Darren really getting a good upper hand in this match at the moment.
Yeah, Darren really had a lot of options at his disposal there, and a lot of them were struggling there with Jeremy's play of switching in Kyogre. And I do think that's the best play there, is now Kyogre can't protect. So again, you can go for that fire move now into it with your Koraidon. Again, you said it well, Kyogre's just kind of sitting there doing nothing right now, so he has to think, well, can I get off? How do we kill this Weezing? So maybe it can actually do something. It's a big road up for Jeremy right now.
Yeah, so really interesting play by Darren, not going for Flare Blitz for the super effective damage. Another Origin Pulse comes out, chipping down the Weezing, who just does a minor chip with a Sludge Bomb. Glacial Lance is probably going to be able to finish off... Oh, actually finishes off both of the opponent's Pokemon. The Weezing goes down, and that means the Weather War, Jeremy's won it.
Yeah, I definitely think that was a little bit of a misplay there from Darren, not taking advantage of an opportunity there to pick off the Calyrex Ice Rider with a fire move there. It seemed that Darren was thinking that Incineroar would come out there trying to pick it off, but instead giving the Calyrex Ice Rider the +2 and a decent leg up here. However, crucially, we do have the 2 special attackers. Beads of Ruin is back online for Chi-Yu here in this endgame, and Calyrex Shadow Rider is about to start clicking Astral Barrage ad nauseum here, and there's not a whole lot that Jeremy's going to be able to do about that.
Yes, but we do have an Incineroar in the back on Jeremy's side who's going to be able to handle the Astral Barrages pretty well, especially with that Assault Vest. So Calyrex Ice Rider switches out, can't protect because it's still taunted, as Incineroar comes out to try to take some of these Astral Barrages while the Calyrex doesn't have any special attack boosts. So we'll see a Terastallization come out, probably a Terra Ghost, just trying to boost up the Astral Barrages as much as possible. Here at the, Darren's back is against the wall, needs to output as much damage as possible right now. There's to protect from Kyogre, able to guarantee survive 1 round of Astral Barrage, and Chi-Yu locking into Snarl. Really interesting move choice. It's choice scarfed, so it won't be able to switch moves at all, but probably figures that something like Heat Wave isn't going to really do it much good in the rain. So here comes the Astral Barrage into just the Incineroar, really, and that does, honestly, a bit more than I expected with the Assault Vest, but Incineroar hangs on well enough to take another.
Yeah, I think that was I'm not sure about the Snarl lock in there from Darren. I think what he's trying to do is make sure that Kyogre can't be clicking too much effective damage here. But really, when you're trying to wear down an Incineroar, I think locking into Dark Pulse, which is going to do more damage, and also have that flinch chance that maybe it looks like Darren could use here to get out of this kind of tricky endgame could have been a big deal, because I don't think, from the damage that we just saw, I don't believe that Snarl plus Astral Barrage is going to kill the Incineroar. So he's just going to have to hope that this damage is going to be enough to be able to 2-shot here.
Yeah, so we'll see an Astral Barrage come out, the Choice Scarf not mattering in the face of Fake Out. So we'll see how much damage this is able to do. It does just take out the Kyogre. Kyogre having a bit more special defense versus physical defense, but that does allow the Calyrex to get a boost in its special attack. I think it all kind of comes down to this Flutter Mane.
That was a pretty massive decision there by Jeremy, opting to go for the Fake Out and just stop the Chi-Yu from moving instead of going for the knockoff, the guaranteed damage on the Calyrex. I'm not quite sure there, because now, yeah, sure, you have the Flutter Mane in, the booster energy has activated, and it is going to be faster. However, you still have the Focus Sash intact over there for Darren's Calyrex, and it's at +2 now. So you know for sure that this is going to kill the Incineroar. with the Astro Barrage, and your Flutter Mane's not going to be able to kill it in return due to that Focus Sash. So I actually think Darren may have played himself into a win here. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to get out of this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the Incineroar is low enough that a Snarl might just be able to take it out by itself. And we see the Terrassalization Terra Fairy come out from the Flutter Mane here, going to no longer be weak to the Astral Barrage, but at +2, I'm not sure how much that's going to matter. So we'll see the Moonblast come out, take down the Beads of Ruin Chi-Yu. Does make all Pokemon more specially bulky, but we'll see how much that matters as this Astral Barrage is coming out. Definitely going to take out the Incineroar. I don't see a way around that. But Flutter Mane just is instantly knocked out. And in a Calyrex Shadow versus Calyrex Ice Mirror, Shadow's going to win without Trick Room up.
Yep, no doubt. It was, I think it was that turn where Incineroar went for Fake Out over a knockoff on the Calyrex, unable to break the Sash. That was really the deciding factor in this game. Jeremy was unable, even though he had the speed advantage, he was unable to be able to click anything on Flutter Mane to be able to pick off the Calyrex. So he kind of had to do some weird shenanigans, and I think Jeremy cared too much about the Chi-Yu that wasn't really doing anything there in the end game, and it looks like it is going to be a victory in this game 3 for Darren.
Yeah, I agree. The Chi-Yu locking into Snarl, that's decent enough spread damage, and with a decent chance to hit both opponents, but I feel like you kind of need to play for that miss or something. I don't think I agree. The Fake Out was quite the play, but still really great matches by Darren, taking round 2 of this League Cup in a 2-1 fashion. And with that, I think we will say goodbye to this match, everyone, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you all for round 3.